Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad podcast with Chris Finn, a production of P4S Golf. Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host here, Chris Finn, and we have probably the greatest guest of all time because he's a New York Giants fan, along with myself. Depending on how the Giants are doing at this point of you listening to this, you can either feel sorry for us or you can call us savants because we stuck around knowing that this Super Bowl, I'm going to talk like they just won the Super Bowl.
Well, hey,
and,
I mean, that's wishful thinking.
I mean, longevity is what we do. So 10 years from now, when you're listening to this, they will have won the Super Bowl.
All I know is right now we're feeling pretty pitiful.
So. That we are. So I'm here with John Weber. He is one of the, or nutmegger, I guess we are technically. And I'm super excited to have you here because one of the things that we haven't covered for our listeners hasn't been the reason why an amateur golfer would even need a physio, right? So, and I think physio is a cooler name than physical therapist, so we're going to go with it. But, as a physio, you get to work with golfers of, obviously here at P4S from, 10 years old to 90 years old to long drive, fastest guys in the world, and everything in between. Why why do people come and see you, and why do you feel like you can be such an important part of somebody's longevity plan when it comes to golf?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first part of that is I think not only golfers, but everybody should really have a physical therapist. If you think about your overall health, we go and see a dentist twice a year. We go get our checkups, annual checkups from our doctors every year. A lot of people are leaving out, one of the most important parts of your body, which is how your musculoskeletal system moves in space. Are you able to squat? Are you able to do all these different things that your body needs to do from day to day?
So now I always like to keep it stupid simple. What the heck is the musculoskeletal system?
So good question there. It's basically how...
for any of you listeners, I don't use big words like that. That's why John is really smart. So I'm going to continually ask him to dumb it down for me.
I'll try to keep it simple.
And hopefully you guys are somewhere in between him and I.
Yeah, so musculoskeletal meaning like how your muscles and your bones, how your structure move in space. We all have pretty similar anatomy, but everybody also has slight differences. So unless you're getting assessed, you don't really know how you're moving in space. In golf, we call it like feel versus real. When I have somebody record a swing out here, they're like, is that really what I look like when I swing a golf club? And it's the same thing when I have somebody do a squat or touch their toes.
And that's because they're saying it in a voice of shock of how awesome and amazing it looks, correct?
Not usually.
Not usually.
Not usually. Sometimes I have to make them feel good and say, hey, but, this looks pretty good over here, Don't pay attention to this part.
Isn't it funny how the feel is never like it feels worse than it looked? Like it always feels way better than it actually is.
And that's the case for everybody. Like I'm a physical therapist, and I record my swings out there, and then I'll have the other big brains here, Bobby and Will, helping me try to figure out where I am in space, because all you can see is what you're doing at the time. You can't see, you can't come out of your body and see what your total motion looks like. And then we have all this software and stuff and all this data that we can sort through that really kind of helps you sort what you look like and then what it looks like on these force plates.
Yeah. So now I think most people listening, when they think of a physical therapist, they think of, I need a referral or a prescription from my doctor, and I only go see a physical therapist if I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And so,
what
is that true? Like what is that a false belief that we need to?
It's a false belief partly, but it's unfortunate that the way that our healthcare system works is that's kind of the route that doctors will take you down. Is hey, your shoulder hurts, come see me. We'll give you some sort of cortisone injection, and then maybe you'll do physical therapy afterward to rehab it. The real thing that people need to start doing is like prehab, right? So you need to catch the problem at its root cause before it really happens. That's why I say everybody should see a physical therapist, is because you don't really know like how much time you have left before something actually starts hurting. And then if somebody points something out and you can treat the root cause, before it's an actual problem, then you're going to stay healthier longer.
Well, I think one of my favorite kind of sayings is, if you want to have surgery, all you got to do is go to the ortho 3 times, right? Go to the first time, they're going to tell you rest. We'll give you some ibuprofen. Maybe they'll give you a prescription for PT, probably not. So then you go back the second time because shockingly you're not better because you stop doing everything for like 2 weeks, sort of feels better. You go back and play again, and magically your elbow starts hurting again or whatever it was, right? So you go back second time, say, doc, didn't work. He says, cool, take this injection. Here's a prescription for therapy. Go take the next 6 weeks off, go, and go through therapy. And if that doesn't work, then you can go back again, and then they'll cut you. So I always tell people, like, if we know that that's generally going to be the process, unfortunately, most states have what's called direct access, which means as a consumer, you can go directly to a physical therapist near you. You don't need a referral from a doctor. That is just you having to pay a doctor extra money to go somewhere they're going to send you anyway. Skip that, save the money, go direct to the PT. And then, so immediately you cut out stage one. Now you go to the PT. And I think the cool thing that people I don't think understand about physios is kind of your guys, the unique ability for you guys. And I know one of the cool things I love about all of you guys here is not only do you have the medical background, but you also have the strength and conditioning background as well. So the certified strength and conditioning specialist. And there's this ability to kind of evaluate the body from head to toe and say, hey, the pain you have, literally, I talk about this on the radio all the time. They're like, we joke around. They're like, yeah, the guy came to save me for his wrist. So I was working on his hip. Right. And the guy's like, hey, I looked it up on Google and I'm pretty sure that ain't my wrist, man.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that I like. We get to spend a lot of time with our people here. We get a full hour at minimum, sometimes an hour and a half. A lot of times when people have injuries, they go to the doctor or like a local physio. Like if your elbow hurts, 9 out of 10 times that person is just going to say, hey, all right, let's look at this elbow.
Yeah, walk out with elbow exercises.
Yeah.
Right. And people understand, I think, with the constraints of insurance, you're only allowed to treat one joint at a time. So even if it's coming from your shoulder, good luck.
Or better yet, let's say you're a golfer and you're flipping every time you come through impact and you're not rotating your left hip.
And it's coming from your left hip. Good luck. Good luck justifying for reimbursement.
Right? Yeah.
I'm working on their left hip to fix their right elbow.
Wait till the insurance gets a hold of that one. But yeah, that's the greatest thing about physical therapists is our ability to assess movement and try to draw out where you're limited in one area. Most times when we get golfers in here, it's not just a shoulder, it's not just a hip. It's a system, right? So I call it like the assembly line that our body is. Especially in golf, it's a ground up sport, right? So if you're transmitting energy from your legs through your torso up through your hands, there's a lot of opportunity for something to go wrong, right? Now, a lot of people, it's like your hip early on, right? But then it's also, okay, your core can't really justify how much force you're trying to put through your legs through the core. So this is where you get all sorts of swing compensation. So like all these people spending so much money on golf, clubs, golf instruction, those kinds of things, you better make sure that your body works well first, or otherwise, you're pretty much just taking that money and lighting it on fire, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I think I tell people, like, you go get new clubs, you go get new lessons. It's kind of like putting money in the market, and maybe you'll get 2% back, right? You could definitely lose it all, but maybe you'll get 2%. I feel like when somebody comes in and they look at their body, they can continue doing. Then all of a sudden, like the investment in the lessons and in the clubs, all of a sudden that 2% return turns into like a 15% return, because now all of a sudden the body can do what those different areas of the instructor wants you to get to, or that the club fitter is trying to fit you consistently. And that's like the club fitter's nightmare when you got somebody who shows up and it's literally a different swing every single swing. Yeah. It's like, how the hell do you fit that?
Yeah, just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, right?
Hey, look, that one swing, that driver outperformed. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so I think, to your point, when you get the body, because the body is something you use on every single swing. It's the only club you use on every single shot, on every putt, chip, shoot, driving to the next hole, getting out, walking to the next hole.
You wouldn't use a bent shaft on a wedge, would you, over and over again? No, you would go and get that fixed.
I mean, you would think, right? You would think. And so I think that's the value that I always see that in what you guys do. And what I hear from people as they're walking out is like, oh my God, I had no idea all this stuff was wrong. And holy crap, I can fix it in the next month, pretty easily.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah. And I think that's, to me, that's kind of the genesis of the name of this podcast is, the bombs, the bomb squad is our goal is to try to diffuse those bombs before they explode. And, and if I had to pick like a person to be like I guess the flagship ideal of who is the bomb diffuser, 100%, it's the PTs. Yeah. The physio, you guys are the ones that are in there looking at kind of doing the dirty work of like, how much does this exactly move? And then understanding what exactly wants to occur in the golf swing and then basically putting the two together. Now, can you paint for the listeners? This is becoming more popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
People see obviously what we're doing, what other companies are doing, and like, wow, the people can actually like run a business and make some money and like help golfers and do cool things. So there's a lot of people who are claiming that they're doing golf fitness or golf physiotherapy. What should somebody look for when they're looking for a physio for golf? How do they tell? How do they sift through the PT that doesn't really know what they're doing and may actually cause the bomb to explode, versus somebody who actually knows what they're doing and can actually help them play this game a lot longer?
Right. I think the main thing comes down to their process and how they're evaluating you. When you have somebody come in, like when we have somebody come in for an evaluation, we're doing very golf specific movements, and we're going to explain to you each step of the way, like, how does this translate to your golf game? If you're limited here, you might have this swing compensation. So anybody that you see should be able to transfer that information to you. It's like, okay, your hip is limited. They showed you that, but did they explain also why that would affect your golf swing? Did they explain how that might make you hang back, flip your hands, those kinds of things? So assessing is the most important thing. They have to have a good process of assessing, and then they have to intervene in a way that changes that assessment, right? So we always assess, treat, or intervene, and then retest. So that the biggest thing is, if you're going to see somebody, they better have a process where they're doing those three things. You better retest frequently to make sure that you're making progress towards your goals.
Now, when somebody does come in, you kind of go through the evaluation, you kind of figure out, I don't know, they got this laundry list of stuff, particularly if it's their first session.
Usually.
Yeah. How do you guys prioritize in your mind when somebody comes in, like, let's hit A, then do you pick kind of A, then B, or you like, hey, let's do A through Z all at the same time?
Yep.
Let us inside the mind of the physio.
Yes.
Like how does the physio approach helping a golfer?
The great thing, we do is on evaluation day, we're getting a big picture of this golfer as a whole. So we're testing everything. Mobility, we're looking at their swings, we're looking at their strength, their power, we're testing everything. Now, typically what I want to start with is ground up. So I've been trying to come up with this really good analogy lately. It's like, if you're building a house, you buy the land and you got to clear that land out, right? That's the first thing you have to do. That's your mobility, right? Mm-hmm. The first thing that I like for all golfers to have is mobility in their 4 rotary centers, right?
And what are those?
The rotary centers are going to be your cervical, your neck, your shoulder, your thoracic spine, and your hips. Now,
did you hear that, everybody? Did you hear how he went? He initially went like cervical. Oh wait,
yeah.
Thank you for talking for the rest of us.
Got to simplify it a little bit. But those areas in every single golf swing have to rotate. So I'm going to try my hardest in the first 3 or 4 sessions that people are with me to get those up to. I've been saying this lately; it's kind of corny. Up to par, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's like clearing the landscape there, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I want to do. Once the landscape is cleared, then I like to build the framework.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I call like activation, learning how to use the right muscles at the right time. What does it feel like when I squeeze my glutes, right? Everybody says activate your glutes. What does that feel like?
Yeah.
How do I use my rotator cuff? What is it? What is an oblique? Those kinds of things, like getting people to understand how your body works and what muscles are causing motion.
Right.
So that's the second part that I tackle. And then after that, that's when we can really start to see really big changes, is when we're starting to move weights. Right. I try to get everybody to a stage where they're moving some kind of resistance. I don't care where you're starting, but once you start moving resistance, you know that you're going to start to see distance changes and you're going to just feel better on the golf course. And that's the biggest difference between working here versus working at a facility where they don't have barbells in the gym. You get a 12-pound dumbbell, and that's kind of your cap.
Right.
But in general, that's
you mean 12 pounds is not enough to strengthen someone's legs?
For some people it might, but not mostly, no. We see people from 10 to 90. So
yeah, exactly.
There's a spectrum there. But that's my general framework is mobility. I want you to be as mobile as you can be. Everybody's going to be slightly different based on your anatomy. That's why it's important to get assessed. Then you're going to do some activation, beginning strength work. Then you're going to get into more strength, and then from there it's like, okay, do we want to try to build some power, some speed, get this person moving quickly? But that's my general guideline, and people are going to hop in different areas. Some people will come and they'll have great mobility and they've never touched a weight in their life, and that's like, okay, this is going to be fun. Right? You're going to love what you see in a couple weeks.
Now, have you have you had people come in that, or maybe like you start with them from the beginning, you work them through, you clear the land, you build the structure, they're working on strength and speed, excuse me, and then they go through a season or ever. Have you ever like noticed like trees start growing back up in the land, you got to re-clear and like kind of go back to the mobility side? Like how often, like once that land's cleared and mobility is good, are you just like, can we just kind of forget about it? Or how often do people need to be revisiting it? And what's your kind of strategy to help people with that?
It depends on how often people are playing and how dedicated they are to their overall fitness routine. So we have a couple of professional golfers that come through here and they have a grind of a season, right? Like they are struggling just to get through the week. Maybe they're not going to get all of their exercises, and they come back here, and there's a lot of trees that have regrown.
If you have not already listened to the episode, I forget which number it was with Gina Kim. Let me find which episode was that. I believe it was episode 15. All right, so if you have not listened to episode 15, you will hear this mysterious physio, John, who always is on Gina, and she feels so bad for him because he continues to have to stay on her to do her stuff. You are now listening to the infamous John.
Well, if she stays on her stuff, then I don't have to do as much work when she comes back to me.
But it's actually, if definitely if you haven't listened to that episode, go back, check that episode out, because you actually hear from the player's side, how she kind of has to get through the season, and you hear about all the trees that keep growing up for her, for sure.
Yeah, and that's if we can get people in here to stay really motivated and dedicated to their routine, oftentimes those trees will stay away from the most part, and you just kind of have to maintain as things come up. But as we get stronger and we're doing more resistance training, the quality of your structure, your musculoskeletal system improves. We respond to any stress that we give the body, and the body will adapt and just continue to feel good if we're doing the right things for it. So it's all about holding yourself accountable and staying on top of things. And if you don't do that, if you have a fall off over the holidays or something like that, it's not going to feel the same when you get back into PT or into the gym.
Yeah, and inevitably life happens and stuff comes in the way, and you always kind of have to get back. But I think that's to the point of why we're calling this episode. Like, to me, this is the number one tool that every golfer should have that most of them don't. Like, the number one missing tool in everybody's longevity golf tool bag is having a physio for those moments when you fall off over the holidays and you got to get back. It's like, oh shoot, where do I start?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I hear is like, okay, where do I start now? And the only place to start is with an assessment, right?
Just to reassess,
see where you are and see what you need to tackle to start with.
So now, what would you say is the biggest misconception that most people have about a physical therapist when they come in to see you?
Yeah. Physical therapy in general, I would say, is like people just think it's rehabbing an injury. And typically what that looks like in most facilities is grabbing some light band or doing ultrasound or TENS unit.
Excuse me, well, I swear I wasn't laughing. I was just clearing my throat.
So, our practice here, you're not really going to see any of those gimmicky things. And I think some people kind of hope at first when they come in that they're going to see those things because maybe it feels good, but it's not going to help you in the long run. When people come in here and they see barbells and weights and all those kinds of things, they get a little bit thrown off. But in the long run, that's what every physical therapist should strive to do in the long run is get people to do these more complex full body movements where it's actually sport specific.
Right.
It takes a lot to tackle and get to that point, but that's where everybody should strive to get to. And oftentimes physios out in the world will kind of discharge somebody when their pain has subsided, but it really hasn't necessarily fixed the root problem. And that root problem can be, a strength deficit or a mobility deficit in another area.
And I think using your analogy in the beginning, I feel like traditional physical therapy is they clear the land, they put the framing up of the house, and then they say, see you later.
Live in that.
Good luck. Hope it doesn't rain. And I think the goal is, and that's, I always talk about strength training. It's what you were talking about. It's kind of like the armor, right? That's putting the siding on. That's putting the roof on. Maybe that's building a fence around the house.
So you're helping me with the analogy.
There you go, right? It's a great analogy, right? And I think it really visually is striking to anyone listening that I think your traditional, whatever you think of as traditional physical therapy, think of it as a house without siding and without a roof. It's just a frame. And I think that's what most golfers are living with, is they go and they get the framing up, and then it rains. And they're like, well, why is my bed getting wet?
Yeah, why did that happen?
Right? They go to that type of therapy, and they come back and like, why is my elbow still hurt? Why is my back still hurt?
Yeah.
Right. And it's because, well, you didn't put any siding or roofing on. And I think that's the beauty of what we're able to do, and what you should look for when you're looking for a physio in your golf game is someone that not only clears the land and puts the framing up, but also, completes the house, and maybe even puts heating and cooling in there.
There you go.
I mean,
and then the interior decorating is like working on some speed training.
Yeah. There you go. There's your beautiful bathroom.
Yeah.
With the multiple shower heads.
You got heated floors
With the steam room.
Yeah.
I mean, the indoor simulator.
Yeah.
We all need one of those.
But you don't do that when you first put the framing up.
No, I feel like that's the speed work.
Yeah.
The indoor simulator is the speed work.
There you go.
You don't put the TrackMan in there if there's no roof and siding on.
Exactly. You got to do the work beforehand.
No, don't do that. See, I'm helping you out
Great
here.
analogy.
Right. So I guess we try to kind of keep these to kind of people's commutes, but one question that I wanted to make sure I asked before I let you go, just with your breadth of experience, and what is one, if you have kind of a story of somebody like a client that maybe came in and kind of skeptical, or I don't know, a cool story that you feel like would be powerful for a lot of the listeners out there who maybe you're thinking, yeah, sure, maybe for that guy, but no way something like that would ever work for me. Like what's a story that you can kind of leave people with?
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite stories is I have a female golfer. She's in her 70s, and she was ready to give up like the competitive side of golf because her doctor told her she needed a left hip replacement, and there was no way that she could kind of avoid it.
Is she a right-handed player?
She's a right-handed player. Okay. Imagine that.
So that would be her lead hip for those of you listening.
So like the main reason that she wanted to get out of competition was she was losing. She had lost 20 to 30 yards.
It's not enjoyable.
And it happened over a year. So she got to the point where she kind of just faded off and stopped playing. And we took her through the evaluation, and I did a lot of testing. I did not think it was end stage OA that was limiting her. We did a lot of
What's end stage OA for those of us listening?
Osteoarthritis, or bone on bone, those kinds of things that doctors will tell you and scare you into having a surgery sometimes. But basically what we did is we did work to increase that hip mobility. We did work to increase her thoracic spine, her spine mobility. Every system that we use in the golf game, we did work to increase all of those. And then I showed her visually on camera, and I talked to her swing coach too. I was like, hey, she has more hip mobility right now. Let's see if she can start to use it. We started to incorporate her mobility, and she was swinging faster. She gained her 20 to 30 yards back. And then now she's gaining past where she was before, and she's actually winning tournaments. And it's just like the greatest success story I've had.
That's so cool. And now, no surgery.
No surgery. Not even a hint of
hip pain or anything. And so just by getting back the mobility in the hip and areas around it, and then getting it stronger.
Yep.
So she was trying to swing or live in a house without siding and roofing. Basically.
And this is a person who is going to do anything that I tell her to do. So there hasn't really been that regression back to like the trees growing back in. So it's been like steady progress.
She sprayed her monthly Roundup and kept all the weeds out.
Very good at home maintenance, and it shows with how she has been playing lately.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with us today, John.
Absolutely.
For the people listening who are you on social, or what's kind of a good place for them to kind of follow some stuff for you?
I'm not a big social media guru yet. Thinking about stepping into it. But, the best place to reach me is here at Par for Success.
Cool. Yeah. So as usual with the, we'll put all the handles and everything in the show notes, but at Par for Success, you can always check out. I know John does some blogs for us sometimes, so definitely. I think he's made a few YouTube appearances as well on the YouTube channel. So he's definitely a fan favorite. But thanks so much for being with us here today, John. Appreciate you sharing the expertise, and thanks for helping us diffuse a few bombs. Hopefully.
Thanks for helping with the analogy.
I'm here for you, brother. All right. Thanks for checking in with us. We'll see you guys on the next episode.